Hey everybody, I wanted to do a video about what you can do with a program called Sketchup, which is a free visualization. If you're interested in DIY, if you're interested in HGTV, construction, housing, then hopefully you find this video interesting. And if not, then this might not be one you want to watch. I wanted to show a little bit about what you can do with visualization tools to see a space in 3D, move things around, come up with different floor plans, but then also touch upon how this is really good for even construction guys or people who want to create a bill of materials before they go to the lumber store, before they pick up a hammer. You can draw dimensional lumber, you can draw plywood sheets, and you can actually kind of do pre-builds in the software to kind of get an idea of where you need to apply different sorts of materials, and also say size of beam, do some span calculations, experiment with a stairway and the rise and run and how it fits into a space. So if you're interested in that, let's dive in. I wanted to show some pictures here. This is actually my brother's stable. He lives on a rural property and they had an old horse farm. So they don't use this at all currently. It's just an empty building for storage. And here's what it looks like from the front facing the field. Got kind of this raised area that's 2 stories here in the middle, and then these 2 little shed additions on each side. This is kind of looking at the back side. You can see this particular shed addition protrudes quite a bit into the back. This one doesn't quite match up with the side, but it's close. This is a photo of the inside just to show how really rough this is. And again, this was just used for horses and I believe pigs on the one side back in the 80s. It still smells like horse, even though there haven't actually been horses in here for 40 plus years. This is the floor. It's just a dirt floor. So obviously before you did anything in here, you'd need to do a lot of reinforcing. You'd put in, rebar, pour concrete, beef up the foundation walls before you could do anything else. But it is a good structure. It's a good building. The roof is sound. It doesn't leak. As far as we know, and it's, obviously you would redo a lot of things in this with the new plan. So just for fun, we wanted to take a look at what could we do with a guest house for this place. And if you haven't tried it, SketchUp is a free program. You don't have to be a pro to use this. It's pretty intuitive. There is a learning curve, but not like some of the other professional software, that's out on the market. You can learn this in a few hours. You can pick up enough of this to start building walls and making different visualizations in this program. So what I wanted to show here is looking top down. This is kind of the first floor. I split off the second floor and put it back here. These dimensions were all pulled from the building itself, so these match what we've got. If you're looking to do this in your own projects, there's a few ways to do it. You can use measuring tape. You can use a laser tape on the interior walls. That's super quick. They work great for measuring heights, distances, all kinds of stuff, 6,500 feet. They have a lot of uses, so laser tape's real handy. And if you don't have either of those and you just want something that's quick and not super accurate, you've got the measuring app on your iPhone, for instance. And you can just take that out, point it at the building. And a few of these measurements I took just with my iPhone. I measured them later with a measuring tape and they were only off by just a little bit, like less than an inch in some cases. So one of the interesting things we had playing around with the space was it looks really small in those photos. And we were like, how much could you really fit into a space like this without making it feel too cramped? And surprisingly, we were a little shocked at how much the space can really do. So here's a good example. We played around a lot with the staircase here because currently there's no stairs. There's just a ladder that goes straight up into the loft where, again, they would store hay, other things. So we would need to add a staircase, but the building is not very wide. So if you put a straight staircase here, basically you lose this entire wall. So one of the things we experimented with here was getting stairs that are going to feel natural, that are going to be even to get you up to the second story, and still be able to sneak in a little powder room here right next to the door so that everybody in the house has a half bath. and that actually sneaks in quite easily once we played around with it. This is a bit of a dead space. You could put in a dresser here. I meant to render that, but dresser, storage, shelving, all kinds of stuff, right? Here's would be the main entrance. So you've got an entry, staircase, and then we put in a small kitchen. Again, this is a guest house, so you don't need to have, a super stocked, fully loaded kitchen. But you still have a sizable island here, along with the long run kitchen, the sink that points towards the pond and the backyard and the field, and a reasonable amount of storage space if you include the island. If this was a full house, you'd probably want a bit more storage, but for a guest house, I think this would be more than enough for most people. Then we move into this section, and you can see this is a small living room. We've also added a dining room that seats 6. You might not need this if you mostly eat at the island or eating outside on the patio or something. We just put in some seating here, chairs, again, added a couple windows. And this beam I'll pause on to talk about for a minute. So currently, this wall just has a doorway. This is one of the areas where it can get really fun to experiment with building materials, because if you wanted to completely open up this wall, that could get a little expensive. It could get a little difficult. There's no real room to recess this up into the ceiling necessarily. So creating just a traditional, 2 small walls here with the post, you could do this amount of a span with just a couple of LVLs laminated together that aren't very expensive. And once you get into longer spans and recessing and doing other things, it gets expensive. So one of the things I experimented with was, does that take away from the openness of the room? And by putting the fridge here, which is already protruding out anyway, you really don't lose much. The room from this perspective, right, shooting back into the room, this still feels super open. Everything flows. The addition of those 2 little walls don't really hurt anything at all. If anything, it just gives a little bit of separation between the 2 spaces. So this is a good way of just showing some of the ways you can do visualization. You can get a sense of this space from that person's perspective, right? In the space, head height, clearance to the ceilings, how much room will you have to navigate around tables and chairs and things like that. So as a planning tool, this is, really quite good. And then for some of the construction challenges and the spatial challenges, it's also really nice. I threw in laundry here, again, outside of the bedrooms, in the living room, so everybody can access. This back part that protruded out that we saw in the pictures actually works quite nice for a suite, an ensuite. So you've got a reasonably sized bedroom here, along with a small ensuite bathroom, which includes, I believe this is a 4-foot shower, 3.5, 4 foot. So a 4-foot shower here works really well. Oops. Shoot. Go away, tape measure. Hang on. Back to our selection tool. Okay. So this area over here also worked well as a side bedroom with a closet. This space does currently have power. Right now, it would have to be beefed up if this was ever changed to a guest suite, obviously. So now moving to the top space, you could see in those pictures, it didn't really look like there was much of a second story, but I did take measurements to the roof, and currently you've got 8'6" clearance to a flat roof here. This doesn't include any modifications to the existing roof structure. This is just building within the envelope that's already there. And this would actually fit with the moderate ceiling on the bottom as well. So I was surprised this much fit. So we have a half stair coming up here with a door that would close. So the top becomes a full master suite that's completely closed off the bottom. You've got your own little seating area here in addition to the bedroom area, as well as a very sizable bathroom, quite large actually, with a full tub, 5-foot tub. So this area up here essentially would probably be the parent zone or whoever was renting the space if they were renting or staying here, the couple. And then downstairs, you've got space for the kids or another guest with an ensuite. plus a reasonably sized living room, dining area, kitchen island, space to come in. This was a really fun project, and I worked on this for quite a while. I let my mom have input. She enjoyed kind of choosing materials. You can see this floor. SketchUp actually has a method of pulling in materials that you'd find on like a website. It's obviously not as good as a professional software app. There's areas you can see where things repeat, or the texture gets blurry here on the stairs because it's not perfectly sized. But you can, in fact, pull in your own materials and overlay them in the space just to see what they might look like when they're down, get a sense of color schemes. This is free. Google used to own SketchUp. It went over to Trimble, but it is still free, and I don't pay anything for this. And you can create an account, and then they even have some cloud storage. So all of this is stored in the cloud and backed up. And this runs in the cloud. I don't actually have anything installed on my computer. This is all running in the web app. So this is, I just thought this would be fun. I enjoy seeing some of these on YouTube as people create visualizations for spaces. It's always fun to see what it started as and what it turned into. I also wanted to show another one. I did this for some friends of mine that have a second home in Gardner, New York. And they basically asked me, what's the coolest thing we could do with this unused space that we have? Which I don't have a good picture of this, but currently this space is just a carport. It's an unused carport. They don't do anything with it. It's just a carport that comes off the side, cement floor, 4 steps down from the house from this doorway here. And then I didn't bother rendering their home, but this is the rest of the dead space inside their house with a basement exit down here. So currently, I mentioned that they have those steps down. I haven't rendered it all here. I do have a full construction mock-up and another one where I kind of play around with exactly how many beams would go in here. Floor joists. What does that do here? I've only got blocks and sew plate, but you can easily see how you could start playing around with this for construction purposes. Even as a basic DIYer who does not have CAD skills, who doesn't know how to use computer programs that well, this is quite easy to learn. Just in a few hours, you can start doing basic stuff and creating visualizations with this. It's very easy. So what I did with this space is, again, master suite, built this out. I put in a bathtub in the bedroom because, again, this is a vacation home. It doesn't need to be super practical. And these are very common in hotels, right? It feels very opulent and very fun to have this set up. So I put in this huge soaking tub right in front of the bathtub. In front of the bed. Large walk-in closet with closet organizers. And then in the front here, I've got a transom window because this is the driveway that faces the front. I didn't want to put anything too low that would impede on privacy. You have the toilet here, the vanity, and then I did a double walk-in shower here just for fun with the shower wands and everything. You need to be careful here because this is an exterior wall and it's upstate New York, so there's potential freezing. You need to insulate it well. But just for fun, this is the render I did for them. Currently, they have nothing over here, and this line is essentially the dividing line of where their deck is now. They have a walkout to a small deck that's about, a fourth of this size. It's really just this space here. So what I did here is play around with how could you have a multi-level deck with a full sliding glass walkout from the master bedroom. And they do have a slope in their yard. I didn't make this up. This is the slope that currently is here. They have a ground level that's about here, and then it slopes down to the flat where the grass is rendered. So you'd need to do a little excavation work, but this is essentially what they wanted here was multi-level deck, direct access from this balcony outside because currently you have to walk through the house to get out through the basement. That's the only way to get down to the bottom level. There's no access from the deck. So with this method, you can get down. My friend's wife also asked for kind of a private Zen space on the secondary deck so people can sit here and relax and not necessarily have to be involved in grilling conversations or other things. They can sit in the Adirondack chairs, read a book, chill out. And you can see I was a little worried about the space here, but there is plenty of space to actually sit in this chair and still have people be able to walk back and forth. And again, this is one thing, rendering and playing around with the spatial relationships really helps when you're trying to figure out how big would that need to be for people to still walk by? Are people going to be comfortable? That sort of thing. Okay, this is a little privacy wall because I didn't render it here. They actually have a window under the deck into a bathroom. It's a bit of a weird setup. So anybody who walks past their deck can see directly into the bathroom. So I put up a privacy screen there if people were going to be spending more time. And currently, all they have down in this area is a little steel fire pit with a couple of chairs. And they specifically asked if they could see what a hot tub would look like in this area. So I set up kind of a circular bed here just for some visual interest. They still wanted to have seating around it, but this was essentially a crushed gravel bed. You could do this in full concrete, obviously, but I wanted to show them what it would look like with a full seating area around this, and threw in a couple of outdoor lights as well. Currently, this is just a cement retaining wall. It was actually crumbling and falling down, so I helped them put in some fiber reinforced parge on this last year just to hold everything together. But this would just be kind of a visualization of what a nicer wall would look like, just to hide that look. So I hope that was interesting. I wanted to show a couple of different designs that I've done for people. Again, mostly just for fun. People get a real kick out of seeing this. I'm always surprised when people are like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that that would fit in that area, or that's incredible. Like, that looks like my house, but with extra stuff. I've done other things for people. I've done my buddy's kitchen, several kitchen layouts for him. Full construction layouts. This was a carport we were looking at doing. And again, I kind of built everything. You can look at doing things like California corners and, again, different building methods. You can kind of get an idea for how much lumber you need at the store, how many windows can fit into a certain space. You could render your neighbor's house if you're worried about privacy issues and start looking at where could I place my windows so that we don't intrude on theirs. I really enjoy using this program. It's not sponsored. I don't know these guys at all, but I've used this ever since the days that Google had it, and I've always been impressed at how quick and easy it is for a relative amateur just to pick up some quick tips and start rendering a kitchen, rendering a building, rendering a shed, even garden sheds. Small projects are really fun to just throw together in a SketchUp model and play around with. And like I say, pretty much every project I do now, if I think I'm going to before I even pick up a hammer, it's fun to just kind of go and virtually construct it in SketchUp, get an idea of what it's going to look like, and also build out that bill of materials so you know exactly what you're going to need before you make that Home Depot run and you don't regret being short on lumber. Hope this was interesting. Yeah, that's about it. Just wanted to show some of the designs I've done and hope that people get a kick out of it. If you're interested, leave me a comment. If you want lessons in SketchUp, also leave a comment. I am by no means an expert, but there are several people on YouTube that I can recommend. There's one guy I watch in particular that's really good, and I can include him in the description of this. If you're interested in learning more about SketchUp, you can go watch his videos. He's got some great stuff, and I hope this was entertaining. Thanks.